there's a time and a place and a righteousness to trolling the enemy. But I suspect in the majority of cases from people who get tremendous joy out of trolling the enemy, that it reflects a life that is less prosperous than it should be, that is more lonely than it should be, that is less adaptive than it should be, and that is developing an e-personality that inevitably bleeds into real life, that is perhaps consistently leaving you more isolated and more marginalized and more unhappy and more dangerously positioned in life. Because, for example, one of the dangers of being on the margins of society is that you're more likely to be lopped off and destroyed by events where you would not be destroyed if you're in the middle of the pack. Generally speaking, life in the middle of the pack is the most adaptive way to go through life, right? Animals on the edge of a pack, right, or animals who try to make their way alone, are much more likely to be eaten by predators. If you have untreated ADHD, if you are feeling lonely, right, you're going to be much more vulnerable to being destroyed by life, right? The pain that you suffer will be much more intense if you're alone than if you have strong bonds. And taking great joy in trolling the enemy, it may be adaptive for some people, but overall, from my own life experience, it seems to primarily be a symptom of a maladaptive way of life that leaves you isolated, that leaves you marginalized, that feeds into your real life interactions and causes people to want to distance themselves from you. So I remember I went to a singles lunch at an Orthodox shul, and we all had to share one thing about ourselves, and I shared that I love irony and sarcasm. And my therapist responded, well, that'll really make people want to get closer to you. So there's absolutely a time and a place for sarcasm and irony, and there's a time and a place for trolling, but you don't want to be using it at the expense of your own well-being. And it can become very easy to get addicted and to get your greatest highs and joys in life from trolling the enemy, and then have that feedback into your real life, and that leaves you marginalized, isolated, alone, poor, right? Without the noble things that people develop as they grow older, such as a spouse and children, right? For a normal person, their family should be their primary focus. If your family is your primary focus, you're unlikely to spend much time trolling the enemy.